Hello. So let's proceed with texturing of the back part of the leaves, actually the bottom part. And let's start from the picking the base color. I propose to duplicate the base color from the front, from the top leaves. Let's hold Alt and duplicate it to the leaves bottom. And maybe make them a little bit darker because the bottom part will be mostly in the shadow, so I think it's okay. And let's enable our wireframe for better orientation, and let's make a small trick. Just I will show you in a minute what. Let's call it temp, for example. Make it completely red color, add a black mask, and I just want to mark up where the back veins should start, from what position, because I want the front veins ends exactly the same where the back vein starts. They should fit at least at the start position. So I just want to show you a little bit trick how to do that, because we have these two parts on the different UV islands. So let's alignment, let's leave as it is, and a side space as well. And just to disable back face culling, and just by clicking over here. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, so you can see it will be marked over here as well. So yes, this is one part, and this is another one. This ends over here. This ends something like here. Mark here, 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 and here. Oh, I just made this place. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we didn't get here. Here. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have exactly correct position where we want the back veins will start. So let's create one more folder for the midrib and the veins, and they call it like a midrib. And let's proceed the same step that we did for the front, for the top midrib. Let's add a paint. Let's maybe add one more layer for having great visibility where we are. And let's call it midrib. And pick a basic hard. I think size 2 is good as well. So okay, and let's just change UV and texture. Okay, great. So holding shift, mark at the base, and let's erase as we did for the front part. Okay, let's erase from this side as well. Okay, I think this one, this shape is okay. And let's add one more paint layer. Let's call it veins. And let's enable lazy mouse. I think distance to maybe this size is 1, and distance 2 is completely enough for our case. And let's start to draw the base shape of our veins. So we have the exactly for this we have had the markers. Just we want to our back vein start from these markers. So let's try to paint our, or maybe it's too fat. Okay, maybe 3.8. Okay, something like that. Okay, and just by adding like this veins with helping of the lazy mouse, just add the back veins. So I will back in the minute with all veins added. So as you can see, the veins is ready. Let's take a look in the 3D view. Yes, the tips from the top and bottom veins start from the same position, exactly what we want. The flow and the curve of the bottom veins shouldn't fit exactly the same as in the top one because it won't be noticeable at all. So one more fix I want to add at the veins is to make them more narrow at the tips, exactly like in a real leaf. So let's create one more paint layer. Let's call it veins fix. You can actually draw it in the veins. Layer is only for comparison purpose. Let's leave distance 1.5, the size stay the same, and let's erase a little bit our vein and the at the end. Yeah, like this one is pretty good. Maybe here a little bit more. Okay, this one more from start. Okay, something like that. And let's repeat the same steps for all of them. So the tips of the bottom veins is ready. Let's take a look at the difference. Now we can easily remove this temp markup that we have made before, and let's add some colors to it. I propose to duplicate it from the top one that we have made before. Let's hold Alt and drag them to the midrib. Let's close it, and we can rid of this temp fill layer as well. And let's change the base color, make them more darker, I guess. Okay, maybe not too dark. I think something like that will be pretty good. And highlights, what about highlights? Let's paint it by hand because there will be a lot of work when we will duplicate one by one to gradient to every vein. So let's delete it. And first of all, let's add the AO mask for make it looks more like a 3D and has a round shape. And just remove our previous paint mask, and as I mentioned before, for this mask outline filter, it should has the mask on what it could add the outline. So let's put them over here, and as you can see, it works pretty great. Maybe let's remove blur a little bit, and I think this is a very good result for such fast option. Okay, and let's try to paint our highlights by hand. Let's pick our previously created hand paint brush and just let change our alpha mask. Okay, something like that. Let's disable lazy mouse. Let's try to add a slightly this nice highlight to every vein. Okay, as you can see, it looks pretty good. You can play with it as long as you want. Like this one, I think. With some small blurrish effect over here in the middle. Just a quick, nice highlights at every vein or added more pretty look and looks more shiny, maybe natural and pretty actually. So yeah, maybe let's add some random highlights on the midrib, and I think it's actually pretty good, super quick result for the base color of the midrib. And the next one, let's add an AO between midrib and veins and the bottom leaf. So I will show you the quick tip how to do it. Let's close our midrib folder. and add a fill layer between midrib and base color and call it AO. I change blending mode to value and color it completely black. Add a black mask, and everything what we need is just to duplicate the layers which we did for the midrib. Alt hold and put it to the AO, and let's double check it. Yes, we have the same mask as in midrib, and let's add a filter as we use a lot of times. Not, I'm sorry, not a high pass, it's a mask outline. And both and disable, it's just to make the our mask a little bit bigger and smoother. So for instance, we just can add a filter blur, and it will blur our mask, and we will have a nice AO as well. But I just want to make it a little bit bigger and wider. So as you can see with this result, we will have a little bit more visible our AO. So let's play a little bit with parameters, with attributes. Okay, I think it's okay. And blur, maybe 3 is completely enough. And maybe opacity, I don't know, maybe 70, but we can change it anytime later. So let's check it in the 3D view. So as you can see, with such a easy trick, we can add an AO to our midrib without needs to paint by hand, and was only using awesome Substance Painter tools. And now let's add a pattern for the bottom leaves exactly as we did for the top one. So let's disable for now our AO. Let's create paint layer. Let's call it details. Add one more paint layer. Pick our hand paint brush. Size maybe 1 is completely enough. And just pick our base color, maybe make them a little bit darker. And for example, let's create a pattern for this part between these two veins, and just start painting this kind of pattern. It shouldn't be so accurate and precise for now. We will tweak with this a bit later. Maybe let's do for this one. Maybe make them more visible, more hard pressing by our digital pen. And let's make the tips more narrower, like that. And add highlights for this part as well, something like that. And no needs to add a lot of light, because this is the bottom part of the leaf, and there weren't actually a lot of light on this part. And maybe some super tiny light over here. Let's blend it a little bit, maybe add some more pattern. Add a light, something like that. Just to tweak a little bit, blending, picking color and smoothing, picking color and smoothing, and just repeat all these steps one by one. Okay, I think this shape is pretty good for this part. And let's repeat all the creation of the pattern for all places between these veins, and I will come back in a sec. Okay, our bottom pattern is ready, and let's decrease a little bit the visibility for about 50% for not allowing it popping up more than the actual midrib. Let's take a look in the 3D. Okay, let's enable our AO. It looks more interesting and nice than without it. And the last one, what I want to add is exactly the same as we did in the top part, is to add some small post-processing treatments. Let's add a new layer. Let's call it gradient bottom, change the color to very bright blue, add a black mask, change blending mode to overlay, and add a fill layer and pick some gradient like this one, rotate it like that. Let's make them fit nicely to our UV island, something like that. Rotate a little bit more. Okay, very nice. Maybe increase, remove, repeating, and invert, and change the opacity for about 50%. Okay, now it looks actually as it is in the shadow part, but I'm not pretty sure that I want to add this gradient above the midrib. Maybe then put in below to making the midrib popping up a little bit more. And let's disable it. Yeah, it looks really nice. And the last one, what I want to add is to put in small AO from the below, because this leaves is growing from the this kind of root, and it should be some small AO. So let's do it. Let's duplicate this gradient. Maybe it's above the midrib, and let's call it AO bottom. Change the color to black. Let's increase opacity for now, and let's change the size of it a little bit. Okay, and maybe change overlay from overlay to value. Let's go to the material mode. Let's go to orthographic view and play with it. Yeah, it looks pretty good, but maybe too hard. Maybe decrease to 50% as well. Let's play it, maybe to 60. Okay, you can play with it. So we have added an AO bottom and a bottom gradient. And now I think the bottom part of the leaves is finished. So let's make a small brief about what we did and how actually we did it. Let's disable all layers above, and we start from the base color which we copied from leaves top and make it just slightly darker. After that we paint a black mask for the midrib and copied base color from the top midrib as well. Painted small highlights on the veins and midrib by itself. And after that, with the mask outline filter, add the illusion of the round shape for the veins and midrib. After that, we duplicated the mask from the midrib to a midrib AO, and just with the mask outline filter make it more wider and bigger, and with blur filter we make it more softer. And after that, lately we paint the nice and cute pattern for the bottom leaves, and at the end we added the gradient bottom and the AO from the bottom as well. And for this part of bottom texturing leaves this is it, and we see you in the next one when where we'll be working on the root part. See ya.